Hi, this is Steve Mitchell, director of King Cohen, and the co-writer of Chopping Mall, and you are listening to Without Your Head.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by the creator of SAW and Insidious, Leigh Whannell, who's got a new movie coming out, Upgrade. How you doing?
I am very good. It's nice to be talking to you, and it's nice to be on the station of decapitation.
Excellent. It's good to have. I'm glad you still have your head at the moment.
Well, to talk to me later at the after party for the premiere tonight. I may have lost it.
All right. Fair enough. So for people who aren't familiar with Upgrade, if they haven't seen the trailer, can you give them like a brief idea what the movie's about?
It's set in the near future, and it's about a man named Gray who is out of his time. He hates computers. He is not a technical person, and he's living in this completely computerized world. And one night, he and his wife are attacked. His wife is killed. He's left a quadriplegic, and he's given the chance to have an operation where a chip is installed in his neck that will cure his paralysis and control his body from the neck down so that he can walk again. And he has the operation. It's successful. And then he finds out the computer can do a lot more than just help him walk. And it ends up helping him track down these guys who paralyzed him, and goes from there. Things go badly.
Exactly. When I was watching, I kind of felt it was almost like a reverse Pinocchio, where he becomes a human puppet.
No, totally. I was thinking of stuff like that. That's what I wanted at the end.
Oh, really? Because I always love AI movies and stories in general, and I've said a lot of times on the podcast that I always consider Pinocchio kind of like the first one.
Yeah, it is in a way. Like, it is wanting to be the real boy. And I think that puppet aspect that you talked about is something that I was definitely thinking about when I was making this film.
Mm-hmm. And the scenes where he's fighting and stuff, that's really comes into light, like the puppet aspect. How hard were those to film?
Well, they were very difficult because we didn't have a huge budget and we didn't have a lot of shooting days, and fight scenes and stunt choreography is something that takes time. And when time's not on your side, it can be very stressful on a film set. Mm-hmm. So it was tough to shoot, but we also planned ahead. We over-planned because we knew we wouldn't have much time. And I think that helped us, right in the clutch at the last second, we would be able to pull something out. We were able to refer to a plan. And so I would call it well-planned chaos, the shooting of those fight scenes.
It's casting him, Logan, as Gray, that would have to be important because unlike a lot of movies, I mean, it's really about he's in every scene. He's, so prominent. What was it about him that made him right for the character?
Well, I'd seen him in a film called The Invitation, which I loved. It was an independent thriller, and I thought he was great in the lead role. And I knew he could handle the emotional stuff, and I knew he was a great actor. What I took a gamble on was the physical aspect of it, because when I met him, I didn't test him out. I wasn't, running him through his paces and making him do push-ups and making him walk around like STEM. I mean, I really took a risk that he would get that right, and it was a risk that more than paid off. He was so great with the physical stuff. He could do anything that I was asking of him, and he worked his ass off with the stunt guys to get it exactly right. So I'm so thankful.
Yeah. So in those fight scenes, is it all him, or is it mostly him? Does he have a stunt double?
I'd say it's like 98% him. We only used a stunt man once with him. Even when we were throwing him off the stairwell, it was all him in a rig. I remember there was one time we had to use a stuntman because he was being flipped over, and we couldn't use the real Logan. But yeah, I wanted to point the camera at him and the other actors too. I wanted to see them fight and not use stunt people. So it was pretty amazing to watch them train and watch them nail that stuff.
Yeah. And going back to when you said about you were trying to go for a puppet theme, what did you mean by that? Because I meant physically, but there's also kind of like we kind of are puppets of technology with always doing everything by our phone and the computer. Yeah.
I think that it's a metaphor for where we are with technology, like that it controls us. We think it's a phone in our pocket that we check, but really the phone is ruling over us. And, you know, Gray is a puppet. The tech is in control of most of his body. And so what he's left with is the realization that he's just a passenger now, and that the tech is running things, and the tech wants to do things more efficiently and is getting frustrated by his inefficiency. And I just loved that. I loved playing with that in the film and exploring that relationship between them. And I always used that puppet phrase on set. Like, you know, I wanted Logan to act like he was being puppeteered by someone else.
Mm-hmm. Was there a specific incident that inspired this, or where did the idea come from?
It's really just an idea that popped into my head one day. That's usually the way I think of ideas, is they just kind of arrive in my head. It's not even being inspired by something I've read or something I've seen. They just sort of kind of pop into my head at random times when I'm in the shower or eating breakfast or whatever. And I remember having this image of a quadriplegic being controlled by a computer chip, and I couldn't get it out of my head. I knew I wanted to build a story around that image.
Mm-hmm. Did you, when you're writing a story about a quadriplegic, do you do any research on real people who have that problem?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I did a lot of reading about it, and then when Logan was preparing for the role, he went and met with a quadriplegic, and you know, was having lots of conversations with them, learning about their life. And this guy was very generous with his time with Logan, talking to him about his daily routines and how he went about things. And so we definitely combined, you know, every bit of research we could to put into the finished movie, because it was important to us. That section of the movie where Logan is a quadriplegic was really important to myself and Logan, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it shows, you know, how helpless the guy is. And I would say he's really anti-technology, yeah. So to give a reason why he would, you know, accept it, you have to have that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's completely reliant on technology at that point. So I thought it was crucial to the story. And Logan, again, had so much integrity about portraying it correctly. And he felt he owed it to this gentleman he had been working with to put it on screen in a realistic way.
Mm-hmm. I think you really nailed it, because obviously the fight scenes are more, you know, visual and stuff. But I think something more quiet like that might even be harder to play.
Yeah, it is. It's tough, you know. I wanted each stage of the film to be true to itself. You know, I wanted that stage to be very true to that experience. The tougher stuff is the sci-fi stuff, because a lot of it hasn't been invented. It's fantasy. So how can you be true to something that doesn't exist? You just have to take your best guess and play it straight. I definitely wanted to play this film straight and not play it as parody, you know?
Mm-hmm. What was the reason for the name change of the movie from STEM to Upgrade?
It was just something that the producers felt, as we were coming up to the release of the film, the producers felt that the name just wasn't quite communicating what the movie was to the audience. So, they changed it to Upgrade, and I really feel like it does speak to what the movie's about, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Was STEM short for stem cell?
No, it wasn't at the time. I was alluding to a bunch of things, but STEM I just thought was a great name for this computer. You know, it's in his brain stem, it's in his spinal cord. I thought it was something that just sounded good to me and sounded right. That's usually what you're doing when you're coming up with names in movies. You're trying to go for what sounds right, and that felt right.
Mm-hmm. It's actually, this year is the 50th anniversary of 2001, and obviously Hal is a machine that you always hear the voice. So how did you come up with what the sound of the voice would be for STEM?
I didn't want it to lean too heavily on Hal. Obviously, AI voices in movies have been done before, and so you're standing in the shadow of them. And I wanted the film to feel relaxed, but I kind of wanted it to be sociopathic, where the audience would be reading frustration into it rather than hearing frustration. I always used to say to Simon, the actor on set, like, do that car navigation system thing where you feel like the car is telling you off for not making the turn, but then you realize you're just reading into it because it's just an automated voice. So he really had to walk that difficult tightrope of being aggressive without sounding aggressive, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. You said he was on set, so he's on set doing the voice, like he's like off camera, I guess.
Yeah, he was there the whole time. He was on the set, and I wanted their interactions to be live and happening in the moment, and so it was really important to me to get that happening.
Yeah. How does that work? Is he just like, is he sitting there? Or is he dressed up in anything? Or?
Well, we had him around the corner. Every set we were in, we had him sort of stashed around the corner in his own little area. And he was looking at a monitor and speaking into a microphone. And then we had an earpiece in Logan's ear so Logan could hear all the dialogue and they could interact in real time. And that was important to me. It was tricky to work out, but yeah, very important.
Mm-hmm. So how did the screening go at South by Southwest?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, South by is a perfect festival for it. You know, it's sort of a genre geeks festival. So I knew the genre fans would get into the film. But it's also a festival that loves smart genre films. You know, they want to see people do something different with genre movies, whether it's action, sci-fi, or horror, and they're really open to things. And I was just so excited to be there. I've been there before with a movie, and I from being there, I knew that it was right for this film, and it definitely lived up to that expectation.
Yeah. So, what's that like to watch a movie with an audience? I'm sure you've used to it by now, but
I mean, it can be nerve shredding. It's pretty nerve wracking when you first show it to people, and then once you've screened it enough times and you get the rhythm of the movie, it becomes more fun. You're not as surprised, but man, that first screening is a killer.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you said like you didn't want to take something from Hal or other movies, but what are some of the movies that inspired you to become a filmmaker, especially for science fiction?
I mean, so many films inspired me. There's Aliens. It was a big one. You know, all that early James Cameron stuff like The Terminator. Jaws was a huge one for me when I was a kid. And then when I went to film school, I started watching films, you know, from all over the world, kind of expanded my palette beyond the suburbs. Started watching Dario Argento films and Akira Kurosawa films and really investigating the history of cinema. So I think it's gone in stages. But for something like Upgrade, I really wanted to go back to that kind of anarchic spirit of 80s sci-fi where they were just going for it. You know, the CG wasn't allowing them to do whatever they wanted, and so they really had to be inventive about how they framed the sci-fi. And I was trying to call back to that.
Mm-hmm. I actually live right by where they filmed Jaws here on Cape.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah, you're right there near Martha's Vineyard, are you?
Yes. Yeah. So,
excellent. I mean, it's a staple for me.
Yeah, it's a nice area. It's very hot at the moment, but so Upgrade's going to be has a theatrical release, I believe this Friday, and so it's playing a lot of places. I actually looked it up earlier, and it's playing a lot of places here where I am. So everyone can go out and check it out.
Oh, good. You can go and see it 10 times.
There we go. And how can people follow Upgrade online and yourself online so they can see where it's playing?
I think I'm not sure. I guess Fandango and sites like that they'll list where it's playing in anybody's area. So I would encourage people to get on Fandango and other ticketing websites, and that's the benefit of the internet. You can just pull out your phone, and in 2 minutes you'll know exactly what time a movie's playing and what's the closest theater to you.
Mm-hmm. And real quick was it's cool to watch a movie, you know, on video on demand and everything, but when you watch it on the big screen, to me, there's no better way to watch a movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just, to me, it's the holy grail. I still love showing films in theaters. It's so exciting. The novelty of it never wears off, and it's really, really, really fun. And that's what I'm always striving for. You know, I'm never striving to see a film come out on VOD. I don't have a problem with it. I watch a lot of films at home through iTunes or Netflix, but as a filmmaker, you just can't beat the feeling of a packed theater.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate talking to me today.
All right. Thank you, mate. Have a great one, and I appreciate it. Cheers.
What's up, guys? This is Damien Leone, writer, director of Terrifier, and you're listening to Without Your Head.